Okay, so welcome again. We are up to Perek Mem Aleph, chapter 41, Kabbalas Mashiach Tzidkenu. So last week we talked about when the Rebbe talked about Kiddush Levana and stressed that the Kiddush Levana in general expresses our tzipiyah, our yearning, and our want of Mashiach, and that the statement that we make during Kiddush Levana of David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayim is actually talking about or expressing this yearning and this tzipiyah that we have. And therefore, we finished last week by discussing the fact that because when the Rebbe said that everything is done and the only thing left is Mashiach himself, so what we mean by that is that not that it's up to Mashiach himself, but it's about Mashiach himself. In other words, that right now the final avodah is connected to Mashiach himself. The bakasha for Malchus that we have in Kiddush Levana. Okay, so this is what we were up to. This is what we finished off last week, and we'll continue from here. So, again, like we've seen many times in the Sefer, that very often we talk about the things that we do now. Question is, so what happens throughout the generations? Obviously, Kiddush Levana is not something new that we just started saying in our generation. We've had it before. So, how does that work? So, as long as throughout our times in Golas, throughout all the time that we've been in Golas, we haven't had Malchus Beis David in a revealed way and opened in a way, in a very simple way. We haven't had our own government, our own king. So what was our connection throughout Golas? It was mainly expressed through our request for Chazaras Malchus Beis David. And of course, we know that we make that request very, very often in Shemar Esrei and throughout davening. So even though in general we're talking about the end of Golas, the idea of a Bikshu David Malkam is really talking about the very end of Golas, when they'll come back to Tshuva and then they'll request to have David and Melech again as their king. So that's what the Mefarshim explained. That it's talking about the time when we already have Malchus Beis David again. He is already a king, and Bnei Yisrael then surround him and want him surround Beis David, and who's about to redeem them. So what are they going to do? The Mefarshim say this idea of Bikshu David Malkam is really at the very end of Golas when we already have the king, and it's basically that coronation. Bnei Yisrael surround the king; he's about to redeem them, and they renew the bris, this covenant that Bnei Yisrael have with Malchus Beis David that's been around for thousands of years. We are now renewing that covenant. Well, and therefore the Mefarshim explained that this bakashu Bikshu is David Malkam, that they're going to seek out David their king. It's not really just a general yearning and request for the return of Malchus Beis David in a general way, because again, that we say multiple times in Shemar Esrei. But really, when we're talking about this in Kiddush Levana, this that we quote this pasuk, it's really about a particular person. Yivavshu es Melech HaMashiach haba mizera David me'ima yivavshu she'elasam puhu yimshal bam. So what is this pasuk really about? That they will request that of this Melech HaMashiach, who is coming from Beis David, from the children of David Melech, and they will request of him that he rule over them. So, and this is Mitzvah David on the pasuk actually. So based on this, we can understand what we're saying. So the Rebbe told us that we are already at the very, very end of Golas. And Mashiach already revealed himself. As we've explained at length in our previous chapter. That means that this pasuk is really expressing, as Mr. David explains there, that this is a time where it's fitting now for us to gather around Melech Mashiach and to connect to him. As we said before, that's what it's about, to request of him to be our king. זוהי גם קבלת הרבי שמדבר על הכוונה המיוחדת בעניין של וביטוס השם אלוהיהם דרך דוד מלכם. And this really seemed to be the also intention when the Rebbe talked about it, that this idea that they're going to seek out Hashem and David their king. The Sicha Zu Lo Bo Hadram B'Torah Mufreses, and if the next Sicha, the Rebbe didn't lay it out explicitly, Bo HaSicha Shebeshavua Shelo Achar Came, Sham Bo Hadram B'Torah Harbe Yosebulu Yishira. But so if the Rebbe didn't say it very so clearly in that first Sicha, we found the Sichas in the week after that, where the Rebbe did talk about it in a much more straightforward fashion. In the later week, where there the Rebbe did make it much clearer and connected this very pasuk of picture of David Malcolm to seek out David our king with the concept of accepting or receiving Mashiach, and of course relating that back and connecting that back to the physical Rebbe, as we are going to do. So, again, so then what is this concept of Kabbalas Mashiach? The canon that the Rebbe said we have to do. Is there anyone, Rifki, are you able to read? Someone here want to take over? Okay, when anyone is ready, just raise your hand or let me know. Okay, so what's Kabbalas Mashiach container? Kanava Prakma Kaidmim, so like we said before in our previous chapters. The Krasiyuma Shal Chodesh Cheshvan Tashinum Beis Nerach Kinus HaShluchim HaOlami Tachas HaCheseres Kol Yemei Chayecha Lahav L'Mas Mashiach. So we've explained this again, we've mentioned that late before, that at the end of the month of Cheshvan in Nun Beis, the Kinus HaShluchim of that year, the theme of that Kinus was all the days of your life to bring the day of Mashiach. Therefore, in the sichas of that time, the Rebbe quoted this, that was the theme of the Kinus HaShluchim, and the Rebbe dealt with it and showed us the deeper meaning behind what this was all about. Ukanal, as we explained earlier, Sara, Kol Yemei Chayecha Lahav L'Mas Mashiach, Yara Klolis, Hamakipa Es Kol Inyanei Havadis Vayahudi, Kol Yemei Chayecha, that's Kol Ha'avayda Shekol Bnei Yisrael B'Kol Ha'zaretz Shekulam Mechuvenes L'Oisem Atar Al Kol Leilas Lahav L'Mas Mashiach. So the general meaning, the Rebbe explained at that kinus that the whole idea Lahav L'Mas Mashiach is a general hira, a general directive that incorporates everything the Jew does. Kol Yemei Chayecha, all the days of your life means everything. All the Avayda of Bnei Yisrael and all throughout all the generations, all of them are done with the intention, with this general final intention to bring Mashiach. And that's what we've explained all along in all our chapters up to this point. So the Rebbe then explained in those sichos that in addition to this general shlichus, that everything that we do, all the mitzvahs, everything the Rebbe gave us to do, all the directives gave us shlichim, in addition to that general cloud, right, that general principle that everything we're doing is for that purpose of bringing Mashiach, the Rebbe also said that from time to time there has to be a chiddush, something new in the avodah of shlichus, and that is very relevant to a very particular time. Even if previously this wasn't such a main focus, now it's time for something new. Fitting with that, so there, the Rebbe established these things, saying that, okay, we have this general thought all along that we have to do everything for that matar of bringing Mashiach, and then from there, the new thing. And what is the new thing? That we have to the new idea that we have now is what is something in addition to this. And what is this additional thing that is specifically for our generation and for our time? So the Rebbe explained what is the new thing now in Mashiach, the time that we're in now, is the revelation of Mashiach himself. This is particularly for our generation and our time. The Rebbe said what's new is that there's already this revelation of Mashiach as something in the present, not for the future, which means that we can already point very clearly over and over again and identify Mashiach Tzidkenu, who is the Nasi of our generation. And then directly continuing from that, the Rebbe let us know and there the Rebbe said, so what is the Chiddush then? Because we're living in a time when the identity of Mashiach is clear, therefore the Chiddush in our Vayda now is Kabbalas Mashiach Tzidkenu. And this is where what the Rebbe said, Shabbos Pas Vayera, so this is Shabbos Pas Vayera, Tashim Numbeis, where the Rebbe said that what we already have, it's already existing now, we know who Mashiach is. Since we know that every single generation there is somebody who is fitting to be Mashiach, but then someone who, because of his righteousness, is worthy of being the Gael. So these are things we explained at length earlier on, that when the right time comes, there's always someone, the Rambam explains in every single generation, who can be Mashiach. He has the right genealogy, he comes from Zerah Beis David, and he's the right person, and then it'll come the time Hashem reveals himself to him and sends him and says, now is the time to go. Like we saw with Moshe Rabbeinu. So appears to him at the sun and says, okay, now you have to go. And if this happens in every generation, and if there were other things, negative things that go and hold back Mashiach from coming, he would have then revealed himself and done the complete Gula, and this occurs in every generation. And then the Rebbe said, based on what the previous Rebbe announced, Mashiach Sheb'Darenu, who was Mashiach of our generation, so the Frierdiker Rebbe already said that everything was already finished and done, and we're already standing to be able to greet Mashiach. And then in our times, all the things that hold us back have all been nullified. And therefore the Rebbe said we have Mashiach, not just that we know we have Mashiach in our generation, we have the revelation, not just that he exists, but we have the revelation of Mashiach. Now all we have to do is to greet him, to accept him and to greet him. So these were the words of the Rebbe Nun Beis in Vayera, Shabbos Pas Vayera. And then Dvarim Damim Mamish, Masinim Gam Sicha Shel Achron Zeh for Shabbos Pas Sara, basically it's Ashilchim Ha'olami. In the Kuras HaDvarim, and there again, in the next week, when it was Parshas Sara, which was the weekend of the Kuras HaShulchan of that year, the main point was the Rebbe say then, as we said before, the Rebbe stressed, what is the Chiddush in the Avodas HaShilchos that we now have? The Kabbalas Mashiach Tzidkenu B'Gula HaMitzvah Shlema. That's the great Mashiach with the final and ultimate redemption. And then the Rebbe saying, what does that mean? Now, and again, it's the same idea. So what we said before, right? Every generation you're someone who's right, who's worthy to be Mashiach, someone who Hashem will appear to and say, it's now the time, you have to go and redeem the Jewish people. And the Rebbe said, based on what the previous Rebbe announced and told us, and he was the Rebbe, these are the words of the Rebbe, he was the Seder Reinu, the Shliach HaYochid in our generation, a Mashiach HaYochid Sheb'Darenu, the Mashiach, the only Mashiach of our generation. The Rebbe said, everything was done. We're already able, we're at that time, we're at the time when we can already begin that era. Quoting again from Chumash Shlachna B'Yatishlach from Moshe Rabbeinu, when Hashem appeared to Moshe and said, now is the time, and Moshe, the idea was Shlachna B'Yatishlach, right? Now the time, go now and do the shlichus, the shlichus of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and move on. And from here we understand, of course, because everything the Rebbe said about the Frierdiker Rebbe reapplies as the generation of the Rebbe to the Rebbe himself. The Kabbalah and Mashiach became the Pearl Mamish. The place of who Yakul Akaim Shifusai the Pearl or Haitis Pearl Nature Angola. So all we have to do now is to greet Mashiach himself, the Pearl Mamish, so that he can fulfill his shlichus and take us all out of gold. Now again, these concepts we've talked about at length earlier on. We talked about the way Shaul HaMelech was coronated as king, the way he became the king, the way David HaMelech became the king, the way Shlomo HaMelech became the king. That we have the stages. That first of all, they are the right lineage, they're the right people. Then Shmuel HaNavi came and anointed them with the Shem HaMishpah. But from the time that they were aware that they were going to be the future kings, nothing happened until the right time came that they went out to war. And only after that, when Bnei Yisrael in general supported them and coordinated them, did they finally become the official king. So we talked about all this earlier on, that there are these stages that occur. So even if someone is the right lineage and someone starts acting and doing what he needs to do on behalf of Bnei Yisrael, like Shaul HaMelech did with the wars of Sisra, like David HaMelech, like Shlomo HaMelech, at the end of the day, that coronation, that final acceptance of the king is a very important part of the king being able to do what he needs to do. V'hinei, Hamusagim, his Galus Mashiach, V'ashlichus Shal Mashiach, and was trying by ISIS with us. So this idea of the revelation of Mashiach, the shlichus of Mashiach, and all of those things that we explained in these sichos, we dealt with them at length earlier in chapter 29. Mashiach shenisa tami b'neinu, mamkinu mitapel is mam b'yikabel the shlichus of Golas Am Yisrael. The Mashiach, this text of Mashiach that's found amongst us at all times, waits and actually yearns for that time that he can accept his shlichus and redeem the Jewish people. But his yiskala is koach Mashiach shebekir bayis, yiskala k'melech Mashiach, and then the power, this koach Mashiach that's within him, is then revealed, and then he can actually reveal himself as Melech Mashiach. And that's why the Rebbe said in terms of those stages, that Mashiach himself was already sent and it was already revealed. So now we can understand, if we talk about the revelation, the koach of Mashiach was already there. The revelation of Mashiach had already happened. So now we understand this final expression, what is Kabbalas Mashiach Tzedekenu. So now what's the time? The time is for us now to accept, to greet this Mashiach who was already revealed and already sent. We're not talking about Mashiach as some sort of spiritual concept, like you might Mashiach, some dawn, some era of change. Rather, I love the etzba, shehu nimsa im Yisrael arach hagolos, who's there shemiskala ka'es, v'aisis tzarach l'kabel. So it's more that we're able to point to a human being. We can use our fingers and point that person out and say, yes, this is a person who was, again, we found throughout generations, every single generation has someone like this. But now he revealed himself, and we have to now accept him and greet him. Anyone who looks into these sichos really and reads and learns them properly, Roying takes the Rebbe Makaser as an initial Kabbalas Mashiach in Hapasot Ubitzuas Hashem Elokehem as David Malkon. That if you look at it carefully, you'll see how the Rebbe connects this idea of Kabbalas Mashiach pertaining with that pasuk of seeking out Hashem and David their king, like we mentioned before. Now we can understand the very simple connection between these two inyanim. He can move the idea of seeking more akat, the I besides Maragalos, his captive, his self subbing Mafusis of Mashiach, where Ima Yibatu Sheilach and Kahuyim Shabbat. As we mentioned before, this is from them to study. That was that Bikshu. What does it mean to seek out Mashiach? That shows that at the end of Golus, Bnei Yisrael will gather around the kingdom of Mashiach and ask him, request of him that he be their king, that he rule over them. That is the meaning of this Kabbalas Mashiach. So based on this, Hasichas Oides Kabbalas Mashiach. So we say that these sichos about Kabbalas Mashiach come in a certain way as a direct continuation of that Sicha from Parshas Noach, where the Rebbe discussed Kiddush Levana. Because what happened was we found the general concept of Kiddush Levana explained Shabbos Parshas Noach. So we take Shabbos Parshas Noach, where the Rebbe explained Kiddush Levana as it was for all the generations, and brings it out and brings it to something very actual, practical for our time. So for now, as we mentioned, on the Gimel Barichos in chapter 33 of the Sefer at length, you can see this as a general approach of the Rebbe. So the general approach of the Rebbe and everything was that as we get closer and closer to the end of our Gullahs, we have to already start our Avodah has to be Me'ein HaGula, as if we are in Gula, like a taste of Gula itself, fitting in with the situation that we're in. So too it is with our what we're talking about now, which one of the main concepts that happen in of Gula, it's the revelation of Mashiach, and also the connectedness of the Jewish people with him. And therefore, as a preparation for that, so fitting with that in terms of living with Gula, as we've been talking about, there has to be this sort of behavior. Something similar to this right now at the end of Gula, as a preparation, the beginning of this Inyan that will be obviously very obvious with the Gula Shlema, when all Bnei Yisrael will recognize that Mashiach for who he is and will want him to be their king. Rifki, want to take over?
Yeah, 1 second. Sorry. I don't. 1 second. Why don't I see the notes suddenly? I see you. Oh wait, there we go. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so in the continuation of the Sikha, the Rebbe adds and says, we have to come out with an announcement and notification to all of the shluchim that the shlichus now of every single Jew is expressed in this, in accepting and welcoming Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. Kleimer, Kol hapratim ba'abaydas hashlichus shalfatis hatar v'ayadus v'fatis hamayanas chutza. What does this mean? That every detail in the work of the shlichus to spread Torah and Yiddishkeit and Chassidus need to be permeated with this nekuda, this point, this purpose. How does this bring us to greet Mashiach Tzidkenu? 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. Second. Not now. And according to all of this, we can explain his words. That after the Rebbe let us know that the Avaida, that the Shlichus that's left is to greet Mashiach. Immediately, the Rebbe emphasizes and clarifies that we shouldn't take this idea of Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu as a separate shlichus from the rest of our Avaida, our service of Hashem and our service of shlichus. And certainly, we should not interpret it to mean that we should now forget about all our shlichus that we had till now, like all of the 10 Mivtzayim and spreading Chassidus, etc., and to now just focus only on our new shlichus. שהקבלת פני משיח נעשה הנקודה הפנימית והנשמה החדורה בכל ענייני העבודה. הממשיכים בכל תקווה וביסר says. Instead, what the Rebbe means to say is that this inyan of welcoming Mashiach has to become the inner purpose and the soul which permeates everything that we do and that we continue to do. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Just finish.
Sorry, did you want to add something?
No, just finish the sentence first. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I caught you.
No, we should continue and increase in everything we did until now, but it should be highlighting and focusing on the purpose of it all, which is how does this bring us to Mashiach? What? Right. Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that Kabbalas for Mashiach is interesting because when you say Kabbalas for Mashiach, right? How do you translate that? You know, Lashon Kodesh, there's multiple ways that we use the word Kabbalah.
Right.
So, like a lot of people say, it's welcome Mashiach, it's greeting Mashiach. But Kabbalah is also accepting upon ourselves Mashiach, right? Because the whole idea of the king, that's what we saw. Those are the examples the Rebbe gave, and then we explained at length earlier in our earlier classes, that the Kabbalah for Mashiach was the fact that it's the Bnei Yisrael accept upon themselves to have a king. Like we always say, even with the Eibishter, right? Ein melech lo am. You can't be a king unless you have a nation who's accepting that rulership, who's saying, yes, we want you to be our king. Right? That's Kabbalah, like you say, Kabbalah's all. That's Kabbalah's HaMalchus. So it's not just welcoming a king, it's saying we accept upon ourselves that we want this person to be our king. Right? That was the correct. So when David HaMelech was first king, right? He was anointed king by Shmuel, even during the days of Shaul HaMelech, but he didn't act on that yet. And then he fought our wars. And then there were a group of Bnei Yisrael surrounded David HaMelech and said, yes, we're making you our king. But you know what? There were a lot of Bnei Yisrael who didn't at that point in time. And only later did he have the support of all Bnei Yisrael and then was like coronated by everybody. So this Kabbalah for Mashiach, we have to recognize it's not just about this welcoming and greeting Mashiach, and, just on a very simple level. It's about accepting upon ourselves and requesting we want Mashiach to king. We want him to be our king. Okay? So that means that we follow through with what he's telling us to do. Because when you accept someone as your king, like we do on Rosh Hashanah, when we say we're accepting Hashem as our king, what does that mean? That means that we want to do what Hashem wants us to do. We follow his directives. We're connecting ourselves to him. So it's the same thing when the Rebbe was saying Kabbalah Mashiach Tzidkenu, we talk about Kabbalah Mashiach Tzidkenu, it's about saying we want the Rebbe to be our king. We want to follow what the Rebbe says. We are accepting him as our king and going to listen to everything he says, recognizing that the Rebbe, Melech Mashiach, the king, is the representative of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And by following his directives, we are then doing ultimately what we need to do in this world, which is to make this world a dearest best of planning. But we need to have our physical king to do that. So, yeah, it's not just about simply we're welcoming, we're greeting him, we're going to make, things that we're just going to say, well, we're ready. It's more about very practically following his directives and doing everything he tells us to do. And therefore, if you go on, you'll see. Keep going.
So, yeah, I'm just thinking, first of all, this, like what you're saying about Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach, which is, like you said, the reason I was saying it in Hebrew, I guess sometimes it's like, because people translate in so many ways. But the truth is that welcoming and greeting and accepting are really the same thing in terms of that when you welcome somebody, it shows on that you want them, right? Or you greet someone, it shows that you're doing this willingly. So it shows on that desire that it's coming from you. It's not like, oh, somebody just showed up and you're just, not very happy that they came, but that you actually want them. So it's kind of like one intention, right? About like this desire for Melech HaMashiach. And it's interesting because like you were saying, the Rebbe, right, doesn't talk about doesn't use the word here, Geula, in terms of like the era, but specifically Mashiach Tzidkenu, as a human being, as the Melech HaMashiach. So it's like accepting Melech HaMashiach and not just, how does this bring to the era of Mashiach, but how does this connect to Melech HaMashiach? So I guess that's what's, what you were saying about like accepting Mashiach himself. And in truth, I'm also thinking that everybody who, accepts the Rebbe is really doing this too, whether or not, I mean, I don't know, but I'm saying if someone accepts upon themselves to listen to the Rebbe, to do what the Rebbe wants, and is devoting their life to this, a lot of people are doing that, I think.
But it's interesting because at that sense of shluchim, the Rebbe was then saying, like you read before, that ultimately it's all things of shluchos that we were doing. But you could do say, okay, I'm doing on shluchim, I'm doing what the Rebbe wants. But then to take it deeper, as we've been talking about before, we each have a nitzvah Mashiach within us, and it's also about not just saying I'm doing this because the Rebbe sent me, so I'm doing what the Rebbe wants me to do, but recognizing that this is about Mashiach. That's the whole point of everything that we do. This is really the inner reason of why we're doing all of it. We're doing all of it because this is how we get to that final geula, because this is Malchus Mashiach telling us what to do and how to get to that final stage.
Right. So we're doing this as in like being Mashiach's foot soldiers in transforming the world and like being part of that process. Just seeing it that way, seeing it as this is the wars of Mashiach, and that's what we're doing by bringing everyone to Yiddishkeit and to Chassidus. We're enabling Mashiach to succeed and to actually bring us to bring the world to where it's meant to be. So, okay, and then the Rebbe continues. So simply, what is the intention here? The Kabbalas sorry, I'm just reading this whole thing. אצל כל אחד ואחד לפי שכלי והבנסי. כלל במיוחד על ידי לימוד ענייני משיח וגאולה, ובפרט באופן של חב"ד. ויש שזהו העבודה בזמן הזה, הרי מובן שזה שייך לכל אחד ואחד מישראל בלי יוצא מן הכלל. That's really strong. So what does the Rebbe mean to say here? The Rebbe explains that from this Kines HaShluchim, there needs to be Hachlata is taken, good hachlata is taken on how every single shliach is going to prepare himself and all the Jews in his place, in his city, to accept Mashiach Tzidkenu. How will he do this? First of all, through explaining what is Mashiach. And we can find this, right, as it's explained in Tar Shebechsav and Tar Shebal Peh. But he should do it in a way that the community, that the people he's teaching will be able to receive it. Each person according to their level of understanding. And especially, so we should learn about, one second, before we said Inyane Shal Mashiach, and now specifically through learning Inyane Mashiach Geula. In a way of Chabad, meaning really understanding it, not just in a way of Emunah, like we believe Mashiach is coming, but to start explaining it, teaching it in a way that is actually, makes sense, in a way that people can really understand on their level. And because this is the Avaida that we have right now in this time, it's understood that this is Shaykh, this belongs, this is relevant to each and every Jew without any exception. So it's not a question, there was being really clear, it's not a question of, are the people ready for this or not? The question is only how to give over the message in a way that they can accept it. But every single Jewish person is ready to learn about Mashiach and Geula. And it's up to us to find a way to reach them in a way that they can receive it and accept it. Nivar. Shasparas and Yanishal Mashiach Hulu Ena Kabbalas Bnei Mashiach Atzma. Ella Zeu Rak Hayra Derech. Ketzed Lagia Lamatzav Shal Kabbalas Bnei Mashiach. So we're going to explain that explaining the idea of Mashiach, right, is not Kabbalas Bnei Mashiach yet. It's just the way to get to Kabbalas Bnei Mashiach. Meaning we can't accept Mashiach if we don't even know what we're talking about. So we have to learn and teach, but the purpose of teaching is so that the people we're connecting with, that they should come to the point that they're able to accept Mashiach Tzidkenu.
Right, and this is, if you look, one second, if you look down here at the footnote, we see
Well,
this is exactly what we
Shabbos Pershas Balak, Medarbar Edis Havayda Shal Lichias Amazman Diemais Mashiach, Mavar Shaderach Lezeh, Yadei Lumen and Yanagula Mashiach. Misham Bar She'ina Kavana Shal Limud Asichlik Shal Atzmi Hu Lichias Mashiach, but that's what will get you there. So just like in Parshas Balak, we said that the way to live with the days of Mashiach is through learning, but obviously the learning itself in an intellectual level doesn't mean you're living it. It's just what will get you to that place. So the same thing here, teaching our communities about Mashiach and Geula is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. The end is that they will come to the point of Kabbalas Bnei Mashiach, of accepting Mashiach. Uvla Shainai, so in the Rebbe's words, lehiskainin ba'atzmai ulahachin eskala Yehudim, to prepare himself and to prepare all the Jews, like Kabbalas Bnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, al yidei, right? So through, right? What are we doing? What is the means to this end? How are we get to Kabbalas Bnei Mashiach Tzidkenu? Through learning. Ki Yehudi she'ena yedeu ma'u Mashiach u'ma'i mashmu'aseh, because a Jew who doesn't understand, he doesn't know what Mashiach is and what is the meaning of it, lo yuchal k'muvan, will obviously not be able to be Kabbalas Bnei Mashiach, right? Lahavin ma'i Kabbalas Bnei Mashiach u'maza aimerlei. He won't understand what it is and what it means to him. And only through explaining what is Mashiach. As Yehudi yachal lagia lavana edus ha'inyan shel Mashiach ulagia lemaskana she'afu raitza beskalusai shel Mashiach beskashusai imai ad she'achen yikabel pnei Mashiach. So only then will the Jew come to the understanding and to the conclusion, right, that he wants the revelation of Mashiach and he wants to be connected to him, and to the point that he'll actually accept Mashiach, Melech HaMashiach. So the process, right, we can bring the fish to the water, right, so we could give the match. So every Jew, we can't do that work, to actually we can't do it for anyone else. We can only we can only do it for ourselves, to actually be makabel pnei Mashiach. It's a very inner and deep transformation in a person to be at that point of really accepting Mashiach. But we can help everyone get to that point by learning, by teaching and explaining, and then in a way that they can accept it and eventually come to this desire for Mashiach. Okay, right. So it's like if there's just it can't stay intellectual. Right. It has to become a transformation in a person of really, really internalizing and really wanting.
That's right. I think we've talked about this before, right? So what is that? So now we've established at least that part of it, that it's about bringing the people, because you can't make someone want something, right? It's want is very inner work. But we can bring them and give them the information so that they really get it, then they want it, because that's what Das is, right? Das, when you internalize something to such an extent that you then can create the emotion, right? You have this feeling of connection toward the whole concept. And that's what we move into next and say, okay, so we need to bring them to this point of Kabbalas Bnei Mashiach. what does that mean? What is this much? What is the meaning of an iskashros between a king and a nation? Because that's what it's about, right? Kabbalas Mashiach is this connection, this between the king and the people. That's what the coronation of kings were all about. So we have to better understand what it is we're trying to do. We need to better understand this in general, what this connection between the king and the nation is really about. So go ahead, continue.
Okay. משמעות ההסקשרוס בין המלך והעם. ובמדינה בסוגיה זו של קבלס פני משיח, והסקשרוס בין המלך ובין העם, יש להוסיף ולהסביר משמעותו של הקשר של עם ישראל עם מלך המשיח. So now that we're discussing accepting Mashiach and Pnei Mashiach, like we're in a very like inner way, and the connection between the king and the nation, we want to add and to explain the meaning of this connection that the Jews have with Melech HaMashiach, that the Jewish nation has with King Mashiach. In general, we could say, Melech HaMashiach. Move on, שהקשר שבין ישראל ומלך המשיח הוא בעיקר קשר ביחס שבין עם ומלך. So in general, we can say that because Mashiach is first of all a king, right? The idea of Malchus, it's understood that the connection between the Yidden and Melech HaMashiach is mainly the connection and the relationship between a nation and its king. Meaning that we can have many types of relationships with the Rebbe, but the type of relationship that we need to focus on now in order for the Rebbe to be able to accept this this new shlichus, right? As specifically Melech HaMashiach needs to be relating to him in a way of a nation to his king. So it's another level of his kashrus. In the words of the Rebbe, in another sicha, the appointing of David Melech HaMashiach already was. There only needs to be the accepting of his kingship by the nation, and the connection between the king and the nation in complete revelation in the true and complete Geula. So Hashem already appointed Melech HaMashiach, but what's left is for the people to connect with him and accept his kingship. But in more detail, Bekesher Shel Am v'Melech Kama Dargas Zu L'Mayla Mizu. In the connection between a nation and a king, there are a few levels, one above the next. V'Lchein Tzarech Levar LaHagdir Es HaMashma'is HaMitis Shel Eskasher Shel Am Yisrael Melech HaMashiach. U'Mizeh LaHavin Es HaMashma'is HaMitis Shel Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach. So more specifically, it's not just the relationship between a nation and a king, but specifically with Melech HaMashiach, who is different than a regular king. And from this, we'll understand the true meaning of accepting Mashiach.
Because there's also
many levels of kings.
Many levels of connection, right? There are many ways that a nation connects to its king. Right? There are different levels.
We spoke about it also in the beginning. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There are different ways that a nation can connect to its king. As we're going to see, we're going to review it now. We're saying that to understand what the Rebbe wants of us now, we have to understand how does a nation connect to its king? What are those different levels? And then we understand really what the Rebbe is asking us to do. So this is what we also explained earlier on. To continue. I'll see more.
Yeah. Bracha, do you want to share something? Do you have something on your mind? If you do, I think you could share with us. Okay. And as we explained in the previous chapters, in general, we can count 3 levels in the connection of the nation to the king. Aleph, Kabbalas al vachna, soim tasim ala alecha melech tehe emase elecha. So the first level is accepting and bittel, to appoint a king on yourself, and you should like fear him. She samcha data shehu adeneim vehim lai lavadim, that they should recognize that he's their master and they are his servants. That's the like lowest level. B is Kabbalas al zu miusadis al his master's pnimius bebchira v'ratzin. Uchenemer malchusai beratzin kiblu aleim. Va'ad leratzin pnimi va'atzmi v'his muchletes shel yichidah shebenefesh. So the deeper level is that we're not just accepting him out of fear, but out of desire, out of a deep choice and desire, like it says that we accept Hashem's Malchus willingly, and to the point of completely giving ourselves over to the king, which like from a place of essence, like that this is our only like existence. Or is that the next level? So this is just really wanting to give ourselves over to the king. So right, so the second one was like really deeply giving ourselves over, but the highest level is recognizing that the nation and the king are truly one essence. V'gam im ein ze begali bargashas hamelech va'am, ach ze ma shedoichef oisem betzura ne'elemes leskasher zem ze. So even if maybe this is not like, it's hard to feel that, right, that we're one, but because this is the truth, this is what pushes us to really want to connect and give ourselves over, because like our neshama feels and senses this, even if we're not fully conscious of it, that we're truly one with the Melech.
And here we can see also this level. We talk about Bay, right? So Kabbalah Tachna, the first one is just out of fear, right? You're a servant, you do what they want. It's a fear-based level. The second one, notice it's this interconnection of the Yechidah Shebenefesh. Now, why do we say Atzos? Again, pointing out something we've discussed earlier, the idea of connecting to the Yechidah is still two separate things. My Yechidah is still part of my Neshama, Yechidah. And even though the Yechidah is a Pintla Yid, it's the highest level of a Yid that can't be affected by anything, it's still me versus something else, okay? So therefore, when we take number two, this interconnection and desire for Mashiach, not just because I fear him and I don't have a choice, so I'm scared, right? That's certain person you should say in Masaylecha. His fear is upon you, so you have fear and awe, and you just do whatever he says. But there's a Ratzon, and that's the idea of a king, that the king is the Ratzon, and that's a Ratzon that's complete dedication of that Yechidah. But higher, and that's what we said, even with our relationship between the Bnei Yisrael, we think about how we connect to Hashem himself. Right? On Rosh Hashanah, the first level is, Hashem is a melech. And then there's the first level of people who are afraid, and there are some Yidden who get stuck just on that level. Their whole relationship is fear-based. We have to do the right thing, otherwise something Chas Hashem is going to happen. That's not good. So then the next level is, no, we have a desire, there's joy in that. We really want to be Hashem, to be our king. But at the Yechidah level, it's still me and the king. Whereas the third level, again, even with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, when Mashiach comes, the idea is that we are really one thing. And that's why, again, when the Rebbe first talked about Mashiach and said that Mashiach represents Yechidah of the Jewish people, the Rebbe then later say, I think it was in Nun Beis, that we have to be misaken that and realize it's not just that he's the Yechidah of the Jewish people, but it's Atzmos. Because really, it's this third level, that the nation and the king are really one essence. And really, not only is the nation and the king one essence as the physical nation and the king, but also that the Jewish people and their king and everyone is really in one with the Kadosh Baruch Hu himself. So to get to that, to be able to understand, to live with Mashiach, to be able to live with that whole concept that's going to happen when we have the final Geula, that we feel like we're one with Hashem, we also have to recognize that this is really what's going on now too. We are one with Mashiach. We and even if we can't feel it right now, but we can we can feel it on the level of das. In other words, when we understand it very well with our chachma and our bina, we can really create the feeling from das. Okay, even if it's not a real feeling because we don't see it, but it's a feeling that it could be real, right? It comes from the understanding of what's going on, that we are really one.
וכן הסבר לאל שדרגות אלו בהסקשת העם והמלך קשורות עם דרגות שונות במלכים עצמם. כי הדרגה הראשונה שייכת אצל כל מלך, כולל ועיקר המלכים שמדוד ואילך. הדרגה השנייה שייכת בעיקר למלך המשיח, שנשמע בחינת היחידה הכללית. והסקשת של ישראל איתי היא הסקשת של יחידה ביחידה. והדרגה השלישית שייכת לאמיתת ענייני של משיח, העצם של למעלה מהיחידה, שהוא דבר אחד עם עצמוס אין סוף, על דרך זה מובן שהוא דבר אחד גם כן עם כל יהודי ויהודי. So, as we explained before, these three levels of the connection between the nation and the king are connected to the three levels within kings themselves. So we have the first level, which is by every king, including and mainly beginning with David HaMelech and his descendants. So there's this connection, right, of Kabbalas, all of giving ourselves over. The second level is specifically connected to Melech HaMashiach because he's the Yechida Klalis, the general Yechida of our entire people. So our connection is Yechida to Yechidas, like a very, very essential connection. And the third level is also about Mashiach, but here we're going deeper to the true essence of who Mashiach is, which is above Yechida, deeper, the fact that he is one with the essence of Hashem. And through this, it's understood that he's one with every Jew, right? That this is coming to like, I guess what will be revealed after Mashiach comes, just this complete oneness, not even a relationship, understanding that we are one, right? We were one and we still are one. וכל שיינה של הרבה של אסד לוי יהיה גילוי פשיטס העצמס של עצמס המהוס יספרח, כפי שזה משכל בפשיטס העצמס של משיח צדקנו, שלמעלה מבחינת יחידו מכל השמש והדרגס וההשפעה כולו, ועל ידי זה משכל הדבר בפשיטס של כל אחד ואחד מישראל. So, in the words of the Rebbe, in the future, there's going to be a revelation of the like simple essence of Hashem's essence. So I don't have so many words here. And the way that it's expressed through the simple essence of Mashiach, right? Getting to like the simplicity, right? Of like the fact that in truth we're all one, above all the names and levels and types of hashpais, of flows. And through this, the simple like essence of every Jew will be revealed. And we're just going to feel that oneness, that us and Mashiach and Hashem, it's just one. But the preparation for this is already now. Through our Rabbeim, which are Mashiach in the generation, so we already can begin this connection of recognizing our oneness with the Rebbe. As in the words of the Rebbe, by a chassid, he and the Rebbe and Hashem are all one thing, as we explained previously. And maybe this can help us explain the meaning of the language, of the expression Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach, שהגדרה כללית שלכאורה יכול להסבר של כל אחת מהדרגות הנ"ל של הסקשת של עם ומלך. That it seems that we can explain these three levels as the three levels that we just explained, Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach, going deeper and deeper in our relationship. So I guess the Shakul and Emes, right? Because they're all true. We need all three. Hein b'darga hapshuta shekabalas malchusa kipshuta. So that's the word Kabbalas, just accepting whatever the king says. Hainu lahaker shuhu hu hamelech hamashiach v'lertzais b'mchuse lachnei b'fanav. We already, the desire is already like, sounds like the next level, but okay. Recognizing that he's the king and wanting to accept his malchus and to be nullified before him. As the Rebbe said in the above quoted Sikha, that there just needs to be the acceptance of the nation. So that's why we have the word pnei Mashiach, because it needs to be a pneumius connection of really, really wanting to give ourselves over to the king. The Dvarim Elu, Miskashrim Umaskirim Esichas Beis Nisan Tafshim Memches. And these words are connected to, and they remind us of the Sikha of Beis Nisan, Tafshim Memches, 1948, or not 1948, 1988. Yeah. But Dibur Hareba Barichas Eides Hachrazi Yechia Melech Bechlal, when Agel Melech HaMashiach Befrat, where the Rebbe explained at length the proclamation of Yechia Melech in general, and specifically in connection to Mashiach. That now there needs to be the proclamation, the announcement of Yechia Melech, King Mashiach, right? Not just the king, but specifically King Mashiach, which expresses the connection of the nation to the king. And within this expression, this announcement, proclamation of Yechia Melech, we can find many layers of meaning that go deeper and deeper. So the simple meaning of the announcement Yechia Melech is recognizing who the king is and accepting him willingly, right? Like desiring him. So in the Sikha of Beis Nisan, the Rebbe finds a deeper meaning in this announcement, which is hidden within the word Yechi, which shows that the connection between the nation and the king is a connection of life. What does that mean? Because the king is the heart of the nation and is the life of the nation, the very source of our life, which is the connection of our yechida, of our oneness with the king. So there's one, okay, we're just going to finish here. But because the connection between the Yidden and Mashiach is a union, which is really one, like we said about the third level canal, this is the real foundation of the real essence of Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach is recognizing that we are one with Melech HaMashiach. Kefi shemashma gam mikach shebakam asicha shel shnas tafshin beis chayzer shuv v'shuv al eisen akudes. And this we sense from many sichas of Tafshin and Beis, where there repeats the same idea. Shemashiach hu chadim atzmas ein seif, that Mashiach is one with the essence of Hashem. B'chol Yehudi chadim atzmas ein seif, and every Jew is one with the essence of Hashem. So the Rebbe focuses on this a lot in 1992. B'chol Yehudi v'Nasi uchad mamish kulu, that every Yid and the Nasi are one. We are all right. So because the Rebbe explains this so much and focuses so much on this oneness that a Jew has with Hashem, we can understand that this is the true intention of Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach, of really recognizing and accepting this oneness and identifying with this oneness. So yeah, it's very, very deep. Yeah, like our connection, it's not like something we do or something about us or a lifestyle or anything. It's really going to the question of who we are and recognizing ourselves as one with Hashem, and which obviously is one with Mashiach himself.
Exactly. And then that permeates everything that we do. Okay. So we'll finish here for this week, and we'll continue with Hashem next week. Hopefully Mashiach will be revealing himself completely, and we won't have Tisha B'Av, and we'll be in the basement.
Yes, it's Hashem Yisbarach. Take it from me, Ad Mamish.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.